Minnie Dean remains the only woman ever to be hanged for murder in New Zealand. While many convicted murderers have faded into obscurity, her name endures, surrounded by a dark legend. In Southland, children who misbehave are often threatened with being sent to Minnie Dean rather than to bogeymen. Whether the real Minnie Dean truly deserves her infamous place in New Zealand's folklore is still debated, but her legacy has certainly left a lasting mark. Minnie Dean was born Williamina McCulloch on the 2nd of September 1844 at West Greenock, Renfrewshire, Scotland, the fourth in a family of 8 girls. She arrived in Invercargill in the early 1860s as Mrs. McCulloch, a widow with 2 small daughters. Her neighbours believed that she had come from Tasmania, where her physician husband had died. No evidence of her marriage, the births of her children, or the death of her husband has been found. Dean, a woman who claimed to have previously worked as a governess, took on the role of a childminder in the small town of Winton. She would then advertise for young children to care for, often enticing young mothers with promises of a better life for their babies. Known as baby farming, the practice was a harsh reality in many Western countries during this period. With contraception not widely available, abortion being dangerous, and unmarried mothers facing social stigma, there was little support for women who found themselves with unwanted children. Desperate women often responded to Minnie Dean's discreet newspaper ads, which read, "Respectable married woman, comfortable home, country, wants to adopt an infant, address, childless, times, office." These ads promised a better life for the children, but often led to tragic outcomes. With as many as 9 children under the age of 3 living at a home at any given time, and a New Zealand infant mortality rate for children of European descent at between 80 and 100 for every 1,000 live births, it was perhaps inevitable that some would die, whether from illness, accident, neglect, or maltreatment. In October 1889, a 6-month-old baby passed away from convulsions following a 3-day illness. In March 1891, a 6-week-old infant died from inflammation of the heart valves and lung congestion. The coroner exonerated Minnie Dean, but advised her to reduce the number of children living at the property and improve conditions. Apart from a small reduction in numbers, she continued as before. On May 2nd, 1895, Minnie Dean was seen boarding a train with a young baby and a hat box, but when she disembarked, she was carrying only the hat box. Jane Hornsby, who had handed her 1-month-old granddaughter, Eva, at Clarendon Station, was later taken by police to Dean's home, where she found clothing belonging to the missing child. Minnie Dean was arrested and charged with infanticide. A search along the railway line proved fruitless, so the police turned to Minnie Dean's garden, where they uncovered the freshly buried bodies of 2 babies and the skeleton of a boy, estimated to be about 4 years old. At the inquest, it was determined that the older infant, a 1-year-old girl later identified as Dorothy Edith Carter, had died from an overdose of laudanum, an opiate commonly used to soothe children. The younger baby, Eva Hornsby, was believed to have died from asphyxiation. The cause of death of the 3rd child could not be determined. The coroner publicly branded Minnie Dean a murderer, and the local community's outrage was palpable. The Supreme Court trial of Minnie Dean for the murder of Dorothy Edith Carter began in Invercargill on June 18, 1895. A series of witnesses testified about how Dean had picked up Dorothy from Bluff on April 30th, then returned to Winton for 2 nights before leaving again with the child and an empty hat box. By the time she reached Clarendon to collect Eva Hornsby, Dorothy was gone, and the hat box had become suspiciously heavy. When Dean returned to Winton, she only had the heavy hat box and some parcels in her possession. During cross-examination, the woman who had handed over Dorothy revealed that, although a financial arrangement had been made, Minnie Dean had never received any money for the child. Minnie Dean never took the witness stand during her trial, but while awaiting execution, she wrote a 49-page account of her life and activities. In it, she claimed that between 1889 and 1895, 26 children had passed through her care. Of these children, 6 are confirmed to have died, and 1 was later reclaimed by its family. At the time of her arrest, 5 healthy, well cared for children were living at her home. The fates of the remaining children, however, remain unknown. On August 12, 1895, Minnie Dean was hanged at the age of 50. Her execution remains one of the darkest chapters in New Zealand's history, and her name is still associated with the brutal crimes she committed. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy learning more about some of the darker things in life, please hit the subscribe button below. And if there is something you think would make a great vid, leave a comment. I am always looking for new things to fill my mind with.